Hello, my friends, and welcome to a space where pleasure is treasured, relaxation is not what you think it is, and life firing on all cylinders is what we're about. If you are somebody who wakes up every day asking for way more, consider this your happy place. Welcome to the Creation of Living podcast. I'm your host, Heather Nichols. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Creation of Living podcast, and I'm doing something a little different tonight. I wanted to bring the crickets on. It is summertime, it's August, it's the nighttime. Summer nights are some of my absolute favorite times. The space, the quiet, the crickets. I love the sound of crickets. And just the warmth and the beauty, having the windows open. And this kind of late summer, I call it deep summer, is for me, it's such a special time. It kind of feels like everything slows down, at least for me. This tends to be a time of year where my schedule chills out and I'm home more. And I just really enjoy the hot summer days and the depth of summer that the earth is in. And it reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of play. It reminds me of being outside incessantly and this freedom and space and peace and ease that I was really lucky to have as a kid, and I'm very grateful for that. And it just kind of always brings me back to those moments and brings me to the awareness of how incredible silence is and how much the earth, the trees, the water, the animals are always talking to us. And we so often don't take the time and create the space to actually listen. Gary Douglas, who's the founder of Access Consciousness, did a telecall this past weekend where he was, it was called Are You Listening? And it is the most exquisite call so far that I have had the privilege of being on with him. I've been on almost every call that he's done since I started with the Access tools about 15 years ago. And he is, it was this beautiful invitation to listen and to hear in a different way, to actually receive so much more when we're speaking, when we are with other people, to enjoy silence, to enjoy the power of what we uniquely are here to receive and perceive and know and be. And it melted my world, and it also exploded my world in so many ways. And I hope you can hear the crickets. This is a bit of an experiment. And I'm also like super raw right now. I didn't normally, when I do a podcast, I, make sure my hair looks decent and, put on some mascara and earrings and whatever, make sure the lighting's good. Tonight, I was like, no, I want to go raw here. Raw and uninhibited and melty and vulnerable, because that is definitely the space that I'm in. And a lot of it is from the call with Gary, the Are You Listening call, and also from so many things that I have been asking for and choosing lately. And so I kind of wanted to make this a little bit more of a personal kind of sharing, I guess I would say, that hopefully will give you something to chew on and play with around dropping in to more quiet in your own nervous system, to a greater space of silence in your world, and something that I think so many of us are yearning for, which is way more space. I know for me, I was spending so much time on my technology, and I am incredibly grateful for technology. I'm so grateful for um, my computer and my phone and all the beautiful people that I know across the world that are, I'm connected to. I've met so many amazing people all over the planet because of technology, and I am immensely grateful for that. And I've found myself, it's really been in the past few years, just kind of like way more on my devices than I wanted to be. And I got to a point at one point, this was maybe a year or two ago, where I was like, what would I do? Like, if I wasn't spending time on technology, on my phone, on social media, blah, 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 what would I be doing with my time? And I realized that I didn't really know. And that bothered me. I was like, wait a minute. I grew up with no computers, no technology. I had such an amazing, nature loving, nature filled childhood. I lived in California. It was warm, ish, even in the winter, but it was, warm a lot of the year. And, being outside was just what I did, and I loved being outside. I still do. And I was like, we didn't even know, year, like whatever, let's say, even 20 years ago, where things were still kind of not as completely taken over by technology. And I was kind of like, what did we do? What did we do before this? What did I do? And what would I do without it? And because I couldn't answer that question, I set out to discover what that would be for me. And it's taken me some time. I mean, it's something I've looked at a lot over the past couple of years, and recently I've just really prioritized. And because some of it for me was I was really like, I'd probably move my body a lot, and I'd probably like stare at the trees a lot. I'm not like a reader. I like to listen to books, but I don't read so much as listen to things. So I love to be active and listen to things. And I was like, gosh, I mean, I love to move my body. Like, if I had a lot of time away from work and technology, I would probably hike and do bowstring movement and maybe go for another walk or a run or an ice skate. Like, I probably do all of those in a day. There's no amount of movement that's too much for my body. And I had to deal with a few points of view that I had about that, because I was like, well, would that sort of be like a waste of time? If I was just sitting, on my laying on my lawn, like that's something I love to do in the summer when I'm home, is take a blanket out in my backyard and just lay on my back and look at the sky, look at the trees. Maybe I'm listening to something, maybe I'm not. Like, it might just be totally silent. I love that space. And I never get tired of it. I never get bored of it. I never get bored of walking in, amongst the trees. The trees are some of my favorite creatures on the planet. And I love communing with trees. And they make so much sense to me, more than, a lot of people do. And so I had to look at that and be like, well, would that just be like a grand waste of time? And I was like, I realized, no, absolutely not. Like, this would actually be such a deep way to nourish my body and my life, is if I was moving more, if I was outside more. That's what I loved as a kid. And it's taken me, like, kind of, I've slowly, been allowing myself to do more of that. And some of it had to do with, I had a lot of healing I needed to do with my body. because I wasn't able to move as dynamically as I wanted to. And that's changed, which is fantastic. I'm so happy about it. Um, so now I'm adding all kinds of things movement wise. Like just started doing weightlifting with a trainer, which is so fun. I'm loving it so much. And just turning it up in all ways. And so I came home from, I've been traveling a lot, and I came home and just really kind of landed home just just under a week ago. And I'm here for 5 weeks, and it's like, okay, nature time, moving my body time, unplugging. I want to unplug a little bit and not be as focused on my technology. Be really aware when I pick up my phone to distract myself and just do less of that. I still do some, but just do less of that, and fill my time with what I would like to actually be doing that's nurturing and nourishing for me, for my body, for my life. And the amazing thing is whenever I expand into new spaces, new ways of new ways of being, new kind of adding things to my life, let's say. Uh, and it when it's about me, when it's about just like nourishing me, I always find that at some point from those choices, my business grows. And I love that reality because it's so opposite of what we think. When we think about business and we think about we have to be doing all the time, we have to be busy all the time. It's like I love having a different sense of, just that receiving more, listening more to the silence, moving my body more, having more time and space for me actually is a massive contribution to my receiving, which is really something that beautifully grows my business. And so so it's been really cool to just invite myself to have the courage to explore that universe, because so often something like that could sound like a great idea, but to actually allow ourselves to explore it, that's it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to like unplug. It takes a lot of courage to just do things really differently and not be like overly busy and crazy. And so so I have been just playing and exploring these things, and it's amazing because as I've had less screen time, more me time, it's been a wild ride. And I've been unwinding a lot of stuff from my own body. And as I unwind stuff from my body, it unwinds things energetically for me. Like I'm changing a lot really fast, really rapidly. And it's pretty uncomfortable. Like I spent a huge part of the day today crying. But it wasn't tears of like drama. It wasn't really emotional tears. It was my body needed to release a lot of things that it has been holding on to for a long time. And part of it was like my life has not been, I haven't really chosen, let's just say that. I haven't chosen to prioritize me and my body and like unwinding of things in the way that I am now and that I have recently. And it's amazing how we're like, oh yeah, I need to unplug. I need to have less screen time. I need to have more silence, whatever. I mean, I've been telling myself that for years. Haven't really chosen it until recently. And I it was like it took some, gumption. Like it took, me being like, okay, I need to I need to do this. And it's going to be, I can't be in my old familiar patterns. Like I can't be just doing things the way that I always have. Um, it takes presence with my choices moment to moment to go, what do I really want to be creating right now? Is it more time on my screen, more time checking out, scrolling? Um, or is it actually like doing something with my body or discovering what else I'm interested in or, you know, giving myself the space to listen and to listen to the silence and to discover what's next, what's more, what else I can add to my life, my business, my everything. And it's kind of blown me away. I mean, it really it really has taken a lot more presence than I was previously exercising, and a lot more uh, courage, like I said, and just like I've really had to be like, no, I'm going to sit with myself right now, because a lot of times what we do with technology and just any sort of distraction, that you could, technology may not be your thing, although I think it is for a lot of people. But it may be something else that is more, just something that you distract yourself with. People distract themselves with all kinds of things. It could be food, it could be relationships, it could be having sex, it could be, like exercising to check out. Um, anything can be a neurosis, anything that's a contribution to us can turn into an addiction, so we have to look at the energy of it. Um, but I, as I've been kind of like really kind of forcing myself to lower my barriers, actually, to like let go of the barriers in my body, which I have been doing. I've been receiving some really phenomenal body work and just like melting the physical barriers that I constructed that are there energetically in my body to sort of maintain the way I interface with the world and what I choose. And as I've been melting those and like kind of insisting with myself that I have more silence, more listening, more presence, um, boy, it's actually, I've had some anxiety and I don't have anxiety. I'm not somebody who's ever had anxiety. It's not just, well, that's actually, it's funny that I say that because it's not even true, but I didn't know that I did. It's been this low grade, under the surface kind of anxiety that I just thought was part of me. And then I started to notice it, and then I was like, oh, I'm not as peaceful as I would like to be. And then I started asking for true peace, greater peace, and then that was, it's been a while, like that's been shifting, but I did notice like there is a lot of anxiety there, but I had no idea how much. And so as I've been like lowering my barriers, quieting down, unplugging, communing with the crickets more and the trees and the sky, and um, it's actually been, I've had some moments that almost felt like I was having a panic attack. Like, holy shit, you know. And part of it, I think, is also, and Gary talked about this on some of his calls, is, we start to hear things that we didn't hear before. We start to allow all kinds of new energies into our world that weren't there before. And that's pretty amazing. Um, and um, and so, but that can be overwhelming too, because we construct ourselves, our bodies, our worlds, our habits, our choices. They're all oriented around what we, like keeping things in place, keeping the structures in place of who we think we are. And so we start to take that apart, and it's like all the stuff underneath it is going to come up, and we're also going to be aware of a lot more. And so your awareness expands massively. And we have to have levels of allowance to match our awareness. So to have allowance of what it is that we're aware of. If we don't have levels of allowance that are, at least we are at least sort of choosing and trying to keep up with the levels, increasing levels of awareness, we'll shut down the awareness, we'll cut it off. And so sometimes we have a huge jump in awareness and we have to actually choose and foster and nurture the allowance to match the awareness that we have. And when we don't have that allowance, there can be things like anxiety, all kinds of different energies that show up. And so it's been really amazing for me to sit with it. And this is something that even, for me, like I've used the tools of access consciousness for 15 years. Before that, I was a somatic psychotherapist for 13 years. I have a lot of tools. I've done a lot of work. I am very present with myself. I am always looking at things all day long, every day. That's the world that I live in. And it has been for 30 years. And so I'm very adept in a lot of ways at looking at myself. And still, there were so many places where I was like, wow, I haven't been willing to be aware of that, haven't been willing to be aware of that, haven't been willing to be aware of that. And now here it is, and it's coming up fast and furious, and it's been amazing. And it's kind of, I'm kind of sitting here going, gosh, I can't really believe I'm talking about this on a podcast, but apparently I don't ever need to hide anything, but apparently this can be heard. So otherwise I wouldn't be able to say it. So that's cool. But I just really have gotten extremely present with myself and it's like, okay, the anxiety of silence, aloneness, inactivity, whatever you want to call it, like not doing as much, unplugging, being not as connected to the rest of the world, like stillness, all these things. And then like less barriers, more awareness, asking for more, receiving, listening more, all of that. Like it's building and it's growing and it's building and it's growing. And it's like, I asked for this, I know that if I walk myself through this, it's going to be the peace that I've been asking for on the other side. And it's time for me to have it. Time for me to have it, time for me to choose it, time for me to be it, receive it, and see what else comes with that. And so it's like, that's a great motivator, to be like, okay, here we go, and I've had quite a few moments lately, more than moments, but like, chunks of time where I'm like, okay, just like with me. My body's been anxious. I've been like, my heart's pounding, my blood sugar's spiking, all these things. Because I've been tracking my blood sugar right now. And, so I know like cortisol pumping through my veins, I can feel it, I don't have to look at a monitor, I can feel it. And it's like, instead of trying to run away from this, I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to sit here and be present. I'm going to just really explore what is presenting itself, what I've chosen to open myself up to, what's revealing itself, what's coming out, because for me, it's felt like this, like so much stuff that I didn't really know was in there. I knew it was in there, but I didn't really know. It's time. Now's the time. Now's the space. It's coming out. And the beauty of that is when things come out, they emerge, they bubble up to the surface, they come out, and we allow them to move by being present with them and having allowance, being interesting point of view with them. We're free. Like there's so much freedom that comes after that. And I had actually this moment for like for quite a while, I just had this feeling of like kind of feeling a little stagnant. Like there wasn't a whole lot of moving for me within the way that things normally move. Because like I said, I'm always looking at stuff, changing stuff, processing stuff, literally all day long, every day. It's fun for me. I think it's the most fascinating thing to explore ourselves and our bodies and the energy of who we be and like how that translates into the world and our relationships, our businesses, all of that stuff. It's like, I just think it's the coolest stuff on the planet, to explore ourselves through our bodies as energetic beings and see how it all comes together, and how it all evolves. And and so, what was my point with that? I well, it's amazing. And then when things come up and come out that are like, holy shit, this is intense. It's still cool, but it's it requires again like us kind of holding our own feet to the fire and being like, okay, I'm gonna be present here. Um, and one of the things I know, I lost my train of thought back there. I don't know what I was about to say. Well, one of the things that I do know is that I've been reading a lot of when I am on social media. I've been reading a lot of people posting about the nervous system and chilling out, kind of coming to themselves again, discovering who they are, like having more of a sense of like prioritizing the health of their nervous system. And that's something that I have played with for 30 years. When I was a body-centered psychotherapist, I worked hugely with the nervous system and trauma. And so it's not like a new area for me to explore. With Access Consciousness, one of the things that has been so cool is we don't really talk about the nervous system, but the access bars, the access body processes, and even the verbal processing and access changes our nervous system. Like it relaxes our nervous system dynamically. So it's woven through these tools. And sometimes this is what I was going to say before. Sometimes we can get so excited about the change, like fast change, rapid change, dynamic change that comes with the tools of Access Consciousness, and kind of like barrel ahead, as we were before, but we just apply some different tools to the same way that we were functioning before, and don't really develop like a deep kindness with ourselves and our bodies, and just kind of like, well, the next choice, and the next thing I need to clear, and da 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 da, and it's like let's enjoy the ride. Let's enjoy the adventure, and I think that's one of the things our nervous systems do invite us to when they're asking to slow down. Neurologically, we have our one branch of our nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, is, I've talked about this on other podcasts, but it functions in this sort of bell-shaped curve where when we have if we look at animals, like the kind of animalistic instincts of our autonomic nervous system, it's there to protect us in dangerous situations, and then allow us to heal and rest and relax after that. So the sympathetic nervous system it's the kind of like the top, the beginning and the top of the bell-shaped curve, where if there's a situation where you have you have there's a threat, basically, you can fight, you can flee, you can freeze, and those may be very adaptive responses, and the sympathetic nervous system kicks in so that we can do that. And if you look at like animals, it's like, oh, if they're being hunted or chased, or if they're chasing another animal or whatever, But the thing with animals is that if you watch them, they have this very kind of quick bell-shaped curve where it's like once that trauma, that threat, that, the reason to kind of get heighten your nervous system, once that's gone, those circumstances are changed, then the parasympathetic nervous system in a healthy nervous system, the parasympathetic system kicks in and it takes us to relax, rest. They call it like rest and digest because, digestion does not happen in the sympathetic mode. Our only the absolutely critical bodily functions continue to occur, but the sort of not so critical ones those systems get turned off in the sympathetic response. And once the parasympathetic system kicks in and it calms you down, it brings down the adrenaline, it reduces like all the response patterns that our bodies have, and we go back to like full functioning, and relaxation and peace. And we ideally live in that parasympathetic state. Well, hardly anybody actually does. My camera's going blurry. How do I change that? I don't even know. I'm just going to go blurry, I guess. Hardly anybody does. I could remove myself and then come back. Maybe it's my computer telling me it's time to shut up. But we live in sympathetic world. We live in fight or flight. We live like constantly needing to like escape the next threat, and that may be, problems in a relationship, or you're worried about your children, or money woes, or, your business isn't thriving like you want it to, or there's something going on with your body. All those things are perceived, as these they're triggers for the sympathetic nervous system that keeps us not relaxed, in fight, flight, or freeze, and not able to enjoy our lives, And so, one of the things that has been a real priority for me for a long time, and now more than ever, I'm gonna go back and come back. I'll be right back. Well, that didn't do anything. Okay, well, my camera is going to be blurry. Now more than ever, it's more important that you hear the crickets anyway. Our world it's all sympathetic, and that's that's what social media does. That's what the constant distraction, constant movement, constant more with my business and money and da 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 da. I need more sex. I need more da 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 da. It's this incessant cacophony going on in our world and in our own universe, in our own personal world. And our bodies change as a result of that. Like our nervous systems are, kicked into gear all the time. And the amazing thing is that one of the things that I did as a body-centered psychotherapist is I do still do this sometimes with people, is the body knows how to unwind. So I would sit with my clients, we would go into a traumatic event in their lives, and then their body would start to unwind the trauma. Like the nervous system would start to unwind if it was supported. And their bodies would do amazing things. Sometimes they were doing like involuntary movements and things like that, where the body would just be like, this is what I need to do to process this, to change it so that it's different now. And I got to experience that myself a lot when I did that work personally. It was just like how much my body knew how to unwind and heal and unwind and heal. And they do. Bodies are absolutely amazing. I always say that the bodies schooled me. They taught me about them. They did, and they still do every day. And I do believe that our bodies really desire the earth way more. Time and space in nature. And I mean, putting your feet on the grass is just heavenly, you know? Um, and, you know, I know some people have, you know, stimulus stuff like OCD or autism, and maybe the grass doesn't feel great on your feet, you know? So it's not, that's not, I'm not making any blanket statements about everybody, but our bodies do recognize the peace of nature. Those are the acoustical energies that our bodies be. And our bodies don't get to have a lot of that when we are living in that sympathetic hell called our reality, this reality, that is constantly giving you another reason to go into fight or flight, to have more anxiety, to speed up, to check out, you know, to make sure that you're plugged in, make sure you don't lose touch, make sure you know, don't leave an email sitting too long in your inbox, you know. And our bodies don't give a fuck about that stuff. You know, our bodies are like, please, can you just like, can we just look at the sky, you know? um, and so it's so simple, um, and yet really requires focused attention, I would say, and a tenacity of choice, um, to uh, to allow our bodies the space that they require to melt into that acoustical energy, that it's really, that's the energy that they be anyway, but to have so much more of that. And what comes from it is just such a depth of thrival and true peace. And we cannot busy ourselves with the worlds of other people because, I mean, they're just not. This is a big part of what we talked about in this call with Gary Douglas, is like the worlds of others are not really relevant a lot of the time. We make them far more relevant than they are. And so on this summer night, me and the crickets, we wanted to remind you, and maybe your body did too, want to remind you of the peace and the space that is available to you for the choosing. There's so much beauty in our world. It's just absolutely blows me away every day, the beauty that this planet is, the beauty that our bodies are. It blows me away. And I just I'm excited. Oh, there we go. I'm clear again. That's funny. I that doesn't mean I'm going to keep talking. It's going to be winding enough soon. But you know, when it comes down to it, I've looked so many times at how, you know, like I want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can be doing to change the world, you know. And when it comes down to it, for me, it's like, what if I don't have to be so worried about that? What if I get to cultivate a space of peace and like deep, deep peace, neurological peace, psychological peace, energetic peace, and ease that most people are not willing to have, and that's okay. I don't need to change anybody. I don't need other people to choose it in order for it to be real for me or accessible for me. And I also don't need to I don't need other people to come along. Um, I mean, I spend so much time with the trees, and I don't necessarily talk about it, or like try to get other people to do that with me. I just know that's something that, it might be too simple for a lot of people. That's okay. I don't mind being simple. So I invite you to just begin to, explore and discover what all of this is for you. If you're still here, you're this may be a conversation that is a contribution or that you're interested in having. And I'm grateful for that and for you because I just, I'd like to see more of this in the world. And I also, like I said, I know it's not really about me changing anybody. I gave that up a long time ago. Well, I guess that's not completely true because there are still things where I'm like, oh, their lives would be so much greater, but that's the story for another time. Because that's just being superior. But the point is, the earth is here. It's beautiful. It's such a gift. It can heal our bodies and melt our worlds and calm our nervous systems. And it's not expensive. It's free. Even if you live in a big city, you just look up at the sky. Um, and it's let's have a different reality with all of it. Technology has become pretty obnoxious, I think, for most of us, and let's let's not go there. Let's change the trajectory of things, if for nothing else, for ourselves. Um, and if you would like some support with that, I'm going to be starting a 30-day series called Unplug, which is all about nurturing the ecosystem of your body, the earth, your neurology, and technology. And that's beginning August. When does it start? 22nd. And it's also part of the Generative Business Pods, which is a 6-month intensive that I do. Starts August 28th. And that is all about silence. It's what emerges from silence. And I am just so deeply excited and grateful to be exploring these energies. It's just it is time and space. And silence is just so underrated, and it's such a gift. And I mean, even today when I was doing some writing this morning, just in my own journal, and this huge piece came out of me, like this writing piece just came out of me. And I had been asking I'm going to start a Substack. I have a Substack, I just haven't posted anything there yet. So you can start following me there if you're interested. But I just wrote by hand in my journal. I love colorful pens. So I like writing by hand. And I also like writing and not having to be on a device. So I have a lot of journals that I keep. And I just ended up like this piece just poured out of me about some experiences that I had when I was a little girl. And I I wasn't planning on it. Like today was like my day off. Um, I don't really call it a day off, but it was a me day. I wasn't planning on working in any particular way today. But that's the thing, is when we have the space, we have the silence, we unplug, we give ourselves the gift of ease and peace and nature. These things roll out of us. That's where the creative universe really gets stimulated, and with so much ease. And that's really the beauty and the difference that is available to us, is a depth of listening and a depth of silence that allows your world, your creative universe to emerge and unfold with great ease. And yeah, so what else is possible? The crickets are saying some final words for the podcast. If you can't hear the crickets, then you're just hearing silence. So that's not a bad thing either. So thank you so much for being with me, and I hope this was a contribution. And if so, do all the things, like if you can share it and that stuff, comment and subscribe. I don't even know where you comment and subscribe. On YouTube, I do know that, but let's have more of these types of spaces and conversations and explorations. So yeah, thank you. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me for the Creation of Living podcast. If this conversation was inspiring to you, share the love. To work privately with me or for info on my upcoming classes and retreats, go to heathernichols.com. Have a beautiful day, and remember that the world thrives when you do.